The loudest revenge in life is the life they thought you could never build. My friends, let's start right here, because that one sentence is going to travel with you through this entire message. It's going to sting a little, it's going to wake you up a lot, and it's going to break a few lies you've been carrying for far too long. And if you're ready for that kind of clarity, press the like button right now and hit subscribe, because what you're about to hear isn't fluff. It's true, the kind that hurts before it heals. The kind most people avoid, but desperately need. Now stay with me. Hey folks, imagine this for a second. Picture yourself holding a heavy, dripping ice block in your bare hands. At first it's just cold, uncomfortable, and a little annoying, but the longer you hold it, the more it burns, the more it numbs, the more it hurts. And eventually you realize the pain isn't from the ice, it's from refusing to let go. That's what holding on to the wrong people feels like. A slow freeze of the soul. You think you're being strong by gripping tighter, but real strength, real emotional mastery is knowing when to drop what's hurting you. Because here's the truth, most people won't admit out loud. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not losing. Silence is not giving up. Silence is strategy, and time is your revenge. People will tell you if they don't call, they don't care. They'll tell you if they're silent, it means they've forgotten you. They'll swear if someone walks away, they never felt anything. But my friends, those are lies. Beautiful, comfortable lies that keep you stuck in the same emotional loop. Because silence doesn't erase meaning, silence exposes it. Silence doesn't kill connection. Silence reveals who was truly connected in the first place. Silence doesn't protect their ego. It breaks it, slowly, quietly, and every year, deeper. Let me give you another picture, something a little fun, but painfully true. Have you ever seen someone try to act tough while sitting on a chair that's about to break? They sit all confident at first, leaning back, arms crossed, head held high like they're untouchable. But deep down, they feel the wobble. They know something's not stable. And the moment that chair finally cracks, even a tiny bit, you see the real them, not the show, not the mask. Their real reactions, the ones they can't hide. That's exactly what happens when you go silent. Their tough act starts wobbling. Their ego starts cracking. All the confidence they performed turns into panic behind closed doors. They don't show it, they won't say it, but they feel it every single day. And the longer you stay silent, the more that chair shakes under them. Silence is the mirror they cannot dodge. Time is the truth they cannot outrun. And you, my friend, are the lesson they never wanted to learn. But here's the part I really want you to breathe in. Your silence isn't just affecting them, it's transforming you. It's giving you back your peace. It's reminding you how powerful you are when you stop trying to force people to see your worth and simply become someone they can't forget. Every year you stay focused on your growth, they feel the gap widen. Every month you choose calm over chaos, they feel the distance sharpen. Every day you choose yourself, their regret grows heavier. And that's your real revenge. Not bitterness, not anger, not noise, but evolution. Quiet, steady, unstoppable. So let's lock this in with a simple truth you can carry forward. Write this in the comments right now. Silence builds me, because it does, and it will. Press like, hit subscribe, and stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 1, silence is not weakness, it's a warning. Sometimes the strongest thing you'll ever say is nothing at all. My friends, that line cuts deep because you've been trained to believe the opposite. You were taught that if you don't speak, you'll be forgotten. If you don't chase, you'll lose them. If you don't explain yourself, you'll be misunderstood forever. So when you pull back and go quiet, your mind starts screaming, what if they never come back? What if I'm the one who loses? What if my silence makes me invisible? But here's the truth. Nobody told you. Your silence is not disappearing. It's you finally appearing to yourself. Imagine this for a second, folks. Picture a fire that's been burning way too long in a small room. At first, the flames look beautiful, warm, and exciting. You sit closer, you get comfortable, you tell yourself, this is where I belong. But little by little, the smoke starts to fill your lungs, your eyes burn, breathing gets harder, you're coughing, but you keep telling yourself, if I just stay a little longer, it'll calm down, it'll get better. Silence is the moment you finally stand up, open the window, and walk out. The fire might still be burning, but it's no longer burning you. That's what they don't understand about your silence. They think you went quiet because you ran out of words. No, you went quiet because you ran out of self-betrayal. You got tired of repeating yourself, tired of explaining the same hurt, tired of trying to convince someone to treat you like you already treat them. And deep down, they feel it. They may act like nothing has changed, but the energy shifted the second you stopped handing them unlimited access to you. Still, I know what's happening inside your head. You're asking yourself, if I don't text, will they think I don't care? If I stop reaching out, will they replace me? If I stay silent, will they just move on like I never mattered? These questions aren't weakness, they're fear. Fear of being unseen, fear of being replaced, fear of finding out that the person you gave everything to doesn't value you the way you hoped. But listen closely. Your silence doesn't create that truth. It only reveals it. Silence doesn't ruin real connection. It only ruins fake ones. There's a quote I want you to remember. What is meant for you is not scared by your silence. Think about that. If someone truly values you, your silence doesn't make them forget you. It makes them realize they could lose you. It wakes them up. It forces them to see the effort you were putting in that they took for granted. On the other hand, if they disappear the second you stop performing, that's not love that faded. That's convenience that ended. Let me give you another metaphor. Imagine a stage performer who needs constant applause to feel important. As long as the crowd is clapping, they feel powerful. But what happens when the audience goes quiet? When nobody reacts? Panic, insecurity, confusion. They start asking, did I lose them? Did I mess up? Am I not that special? That's what happens to them when you go silent. They were used to your emotional applause, your texts, your calls, your checking in, your chasing. When that stops, the performance in their head starts to fall apart. But let's be real, my friend. Silence is not easy. It's not some smooth, glamorous move. It's uncomfortable. It's restless. It's you sitting there with your fingers hovering over the keyboard, wanting to send one last message. It's you fighting the urge to explain, to justify, to ask, do I still matter to you? That urge comes from your history. Maybe you grew up having to prove your worth. Maybe you learned to keep the peace by overgiving. Maybe you were always the one fixing everyone's mess. So when you suddenly choose silence, your nervous system feels like something is wrong. But nothing is wrong. You're just finally choosing you. They will tell you silence is petty. They'll say, you're being dramatic, you're just ignoring me. They'll paint you as the bad one because you stopped feeding their comfort. That's another lie. Stoic silence is not a tantrum. It's a boundary. It's not, I'm ignoring you to control you. It's, I'm protecting me because I can't keep sacrificing my peace to keep your ego cozy. Real silence isn't about punishing them. It's about no longer punishing yourself. Here's the part that stings them the most. Even if they never admit it, your silence tells the truth about where the power really was. They thought they had control because you kept responding, you kept explaining, you kept showing up no matter how badly they showed up for you. But the moment you go quiet, the script flips. Suddenly, they're the one wondering, what are they thinking? Have they moved on? Are they talking to someone else? Did I push too far? The questions that used to torture you begin to visit them. And that, my friends, is the first crack in their ego. And while that's happening on their side, something much more important is happening on yours. You start to hear yourself again. You notice your mind getting clearer. You notice you have more energy for your own life, your goals, your routine. You realize you were spending so much time trying to be chosen that you forgot you were already valuable. Silence gives you your reflection back. Instead of staring at your phone, you start looking in the mirror and asking, what do I want? What do I deserve? What kind of love do I require from now on? So let's break one last lie before we close this point. If I don't fight for them, I'm giving up. No, sometimes the real fight is not for them, it's for you. You're not giving up on love. You're giving up on begging. You're not giving up on connection. You're giving up on confusion. You're not giving up on them. You're giving up on the version of yourself that accepted less than they deserved. I want you to end this part with a decision, not a loud one, not a dramatic one, a quiet, powerful one inside your heart. A decision that says, I will no longer trade my peace for their comfort. And to lock it in, I want you to write this in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you. I choose silent power. Type it out, my friends. Claim it, because once you do, what comes next in this journey, how time begins to work in your favor and against their ego, is going to make everything you've been through finally start to make sense. Stay with me. Number 2, the ego always breaks first. Ego always looks unbreakable, right up until silence stops feeding it. My friends, that's where things really start to flip, because on the surface, they look fine, right? They look unbothered. They look like they're winning. They're posting, laughing, going out, acting like life is one big movie, where they're the star, and you were just an extra who got written out. And you sit there wondering, did I really matter that little? How can they move on so fast? How can they be so calm when I'm over here feeling everything? But here's what you need to understand. Ego doesn't collapse in public. Ego collapses in private. It doesn't break in front of the crowd. It breaks in the quiet when no one is watching. And silence, your silence, is what starts that process. Imagine a big, shiny balloon floating confidently in the air. It looks bold, untouchable, bigger than life. That's their ego, full of hot air, full of images, full of, I don't care, I'm fine, I've moved on. Now picture one tiny needle. Not a sword, not a hammer, just a small pin. That's your silence. From far away, it doesn't look like much. But all it takes is one moment of contact, and suddenly all that loud, floating confidence is nothing but air escaping in panic. Your silence is that quiet needle. It doesn't attack. It just exists. But its existence alone is enough to make their ego nervous. You might think they don't notice the shift. Trust me, they do. When you stop responding the way you used to, their mind starts asking questions they'd never admit. Why are they so calm? Why aren't they chasing? Did I push too far? Are they talking to someone else? Have they finally seen my behavior for what it is? They won't say that out loud. Instead, they'll say things like, they're acting weird, or they're being distant. As if your silence is some random phase, not a response to everything they did. Here's the lie you've been taught. They don't reach out because they don't care. Sometimes that's true, but many times they don't reach out because their ego is terrified. Terrified of rejection, terrified of admitting they were wrong, terrified of showing that you actually matter. They will scroll your profile 100 times before sending one honest message. They will type and delete, rather than simply say, "I miss you." That's not strength. That's ego in handcuffs. Think of it like this, folks. Picture someone standing in front of a cracked mirror. On the outside, they look composed, hair done, clothes clean, posture strong. But the mirror in front of them is already fractured. At first, they ignore it. They say, "It's fine, it's still working, I can still see myself." But with time, the cracks spread. Little by little, their reflection becomes distorted. They can't see clearly anymore. That cracked mirror is their conscience. Your silence is what made the first crack. Every memory, every moment of kindness they dismissed, every time they took your presence for granted, that's another fracture. Ego hates self-awareness. That's why your silence disturbs them more than any argument ever could. When you argue, they still feel in control. They can twist your words, gaslight, deflect, blame, perform. As long as you're reacting, they feel powerful. When you go quiet, you remove their favorite weapon, your response. Now, the only thing they're left alone with is themselves. And for people who have been running from themselves their whole life, that's terrifying. I know what you're thinking. If their ego is cracking, why don't they just humble themselves and apologize? Why don't they fix it? Because humility feels like death to a fragile ego. Admitting they hurt you, admitting they took you for granted, admitting they lost someone special, this would mean admitting they're not as invincible as they pretend. So instead, they keep choosing the illusion. They double down on the act. They smile louder. They post more. They talk big. But the louder the outside gets, the more you can be sure the inside is shaking. Here's the beautiful twist, my friends. The moment their ego starts trembling is the exact moment your spirit starts stabilizing. You begin to realize that their behavior was never proof of your worth, only proof of their capacity. You start seeing that someone's inability to value you says everything about them and nothing about your value. While their ego is trying to patch itself up with distractions, your soul is quietly upgrading. They think your silence is empty, but your silence is full of lessons, full of clarity, full of self-respect, slowly returning to its rightful place. You start asking different questions, not "Why didn't they choose me?" but "Why did I keep choosing people who weren't choosing me back?" Not "What's wrong with me?" but "What inside me believed I had to settle for this?" Those questions, unlike theirs, lead somewhere powerful. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to watch them pretend you never mattered. It's hard not to break silence just to prove a point, to say, "I'm still here, I still care." But breaking silence just to soothe your fear only feeds their ego again. Staying silent, sitting with the discomfort, letting their ego wobble without rushing in to stabilize it, that's where your transformation lives. So let's rise above the lie that says, "If I don't react, I'm weak." No, if you don't react, you're strong enough to let their ego break without needing to rescue it. You're strong enough to let the truth do what the truth does. Slowly, quietly, relentlessly. To seal this part, I want you to write something powerful in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that you get it now. Type, "I won't feed their ego." Let that be your promise to yourself. Because what comes next, how time takes that cracked ego and turns it into long-term regret, is something you need to see with clear eyes and a steady heart. Stay with me. Number 3. Time doesn't heal their pride, it exposes it. Time doesn't erase the truth, it just removes the excuses. My friends, We need to tear down one of the biggest lies people love to repeat. Time heals everything. You've heard it 1,000 times. Someone breaks you, disrespects you, walks away like you never mattered, and people say, "Don't worry, give it time. They'll forget. You'll forget. It'll all fade." But deep down, you know that's not how it really works. Time doesn't automatically heal. Time reveals. Time exposes. Time holds a mirror up to their choices and forces them to stare at what they did and what they lost. Picture this for a second, folks. Imagine someone painting over a cracked wall. At first, it looks new, smooth, and perfect. They step back, proud of themselves, thinking, "They're fixed. No one will see the damage now." That's what their ego does right after they hurt you. They paint over it with distractions, hookups, parties, fake confidence, "I'm fine" posts. But here's the problem with cracks. They don't disappear just because you cover them. Over time, the paint starts to bubble, the crack starts to show through again. The more time passes, the more obvious it becomes. That's what happens to their pride. Time doesn't protect it. Time exposes every fracture. In the beginning, they convince themselves they made the right decision. They tell themselves, "I had to leave. They were too much. I can do better." They repeat these lines like mantras because they're not trying to convince the world. They're trying to convince themselves. Meanwhile, you're sitting there wondering, are they really that happy without me? Did I mean nothing? Will time just erase me from their mind? The fear creeps in. Maybe they'll never regret it. Maybe I'm the only one feeling anything. But let me tell you something hard and honest, my friend. Regret is slow. It's not a firework. It's a slow leak. It doesn't show up the first week they leave. It doesn't always hit in the first month. It comes later, when the dust settles, when the noise quiets, when life stops feeling like a movie and starts feeling real again. Time strips away all the drama and leaves them alone with the truth. And the truth is simple. They lost someone who genuinely cared. And that doesn't get easier to live with. It gets heavier. There's a quote I want you to keep in your back pocket. Time never softens what was real. It only sharpens what was fake. Think about that. The fake reasons they used to justify their behavior, those fade. The stories they told others to look like the victim, those crumble. The excuses they gave themselves so they could sleep at night, those crumble, those stop working. But your kindness, your effort, your steadiness, the way you showed up, those memories age like glass, clear, unavoidable, sharp. Imagine them a year from now, maybe 2. It's late at night. The house is quiet. The party phase is over. The "I'm fine" mask is tired. They're scrolling through their phone, not looking for anything in particular. Then an old photo shows up. A memory, a song, a place you went together, and suddenly time doesn't feel like distance anymore. It feels like proof. Proof that no one else since then has really matched the way you made them feel safe, understood, grounded. They might laugh it off in public, but in that moment alone, it stings badly. You might think, if time exposes their pride, why didn't they come back sooner? Why didn't they fix it when they had the chance? Because pride is stubborn. And the more time passes, the harder it becomes for them to admit they were wrong. At the start, they tell themselves they don't care. Later, they tell themselves it's too late. That's how ego protects itself. It would rather live with a quiet ache than swallow its pride and apologize. Here's where your fear lies. You're afraid time will erase you. You're afraid that as months pass, you'll just become someone they used to know. But you have to understand how the human mind works. We don't miss chaos. We don't miss confusion. We miss peace. We miss the feeling of being seen. We miss the person who made us feel at home. And whether they admit it or not, you were that. Time doesn't delete that. Time compares. Time shows them the difference between what they had with you and what they have now. And often that comparison is not in their favor. But let's also talk about you, because time is not just exposing them, it's transforming you. In the first weeks or months, it hurts. You replay conversations. You question your worth. You wonder if staying quiet was a mistake. But slowly, without any big announcement, something inside you starts shifting. You stop checking your phone as much. You stop stalking their profile. You have a day where you laugh and realize your first thought wasn't about them. Time, combined with your silence, is building someone new, someone calmer, clearer, more grounded. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it feels unfair that you have to go through pain while they look like they're thriving, but their thriving is often performance. Your healing is real. Their pride needs a constant audience. Your growth only needs you. And every day you choose not to break your silence just to get small reassurance. You're telling time, work for me, not against me. So let's break the lie once and for all. Time will make them forget you. No, time will make them see you clearly, maybe too late, maybe from a distance, maybe from a place where they can only watch you grow, but never touch your energy again. That's not your loss, that's theirs. And I want you to lock this in with an affirmation that flips the whole story in your favor. Go to the comments and write it. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you. Time is on my side. Because it is. And as time keeps moving, you're going to see exactly how much. Stay with me. What happens next when you start growing while they quietly decline is something you don't want to miss. Number 4. While you grow, they decline. Nothing exposes a person's choices more than watching you become everything they thought you'd never be. My friends, that line hits hard because deep down, you know it's true. At first, it looks like they're winning. They walk away, they move on, they look busy, entertained and surrounded. You feel like the one left in ruins while they seem to be living their best life. But stay with me, because what looks like your breaking point now is actually the starting line of something they never saw coming, your growth and their slow decline. Imagine this, folks. Picture two people standing at the bottom of a long staircase. At the beginning, you're both on the same step. They decide, why climb? I'll just stand here. I've got attention. I've got options. I'm comfortable. You, on the other hand, get pushed onto the stairs by pain, confusion, heartbreak. At first, every step hurts. Your legs shake. Your chest burns. You cling to the railing thinking, why is this so hard? Why do I have to be the one climbing while they get to stand still and look happy? But here's the twist. The higher you go, the smaller they look. Not because they shrank, but because you rose. While you're up late evenings working on yourself, journaling your pain, building discipline, questioning your patterns, learning about emotional boundaries, they're repeating the same habits that broke this connection in the first place. Different people, same behavior, new faces, same emptiness. On the outside, it looks exciting. On the inside, it's just recycled chaos. You're doing inner work, they're doing damage control. You're rebuilding, they're rerunning. And I know the questions that haunt you. If I'm growing, why does it still hurt? If I'm changing, why do I still miss them? Why does it look like their life is more fun than mine? Because growth isn't glamorous in the beginning. Healing doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with quiet mornings and heavy thoughts, with saying no to old patterns, with choosing yourself when you'd rather choose comfort. You're doing the hard, invisible work. They're doing the easy, visible performance. But only one of those paths leads somewhere different. Here's a quote I want you to hold close. Healing is lonely at first, powerful later. Right now, it might feel like you're the only one losing. You're the one going to bed early, blocking contacts, resisting the urge to text, forcing yourself to drink water, hit the gym, stay focused. They're out laughing, posting and collecting attention, but attention and growth are not the same thing. Claps don't equal character. Followers don't equal fulfillment. They're feeding their image while you're feeding your soul, and time always favors the soul. Think about a tree, folks. When a storm hits, the tree that survives isn't the one with the prettiest leaves. It's the one with the deepest roots. While you're building roots, stronger values, stronger self-respect, stronger emotional control, they're focused on leaves. Who's looking, who's liking, who's calling. And leaves are the first thing to fall when life gets real. Their decline doesn't begin when they lose attention. Their decline begins when they realize all that attention can't replace what they had with you. Stability, understanding, peace. Slowly, your glow changes. At first, you're just not as reactive. You don't check your phone as obsessively. You don't crumble at their name like you used to. Then, your habits upgrade. You're sleeping a bit better. You're eating cleaner. You're moving your body. You're investing in things that have nothing to do with them. One day, you catch yourself laughing and realize it's genuine, not forced. That's growth. They don't see every step, but they feel the distance. They may not say it, but they sense it. They're different. They're calmer. They're not orbiting me anymore. And that shift scares them more than any argument ever could. Meanwhile, their world slowly starts to feel off. The people that once felt exciting now feel shallow. The games that once felt fun now feel exhausting. The late nights, the constant scrolling, the endless small talk. It all starts to feel like noise, because once someone has tasted real emotional safety, everything else tastes cheap. They may not want to admit it, but their heart knows the difference. And every time they meet someone new who doesn't match the depth you brought, that's another inch of decline. Not because they can't survive without you, but because they finally understand they weren't the only one who was special. You were. Here's the lie we're going to destroy. If they look happy without me, I must not have mattered. No. Sometimes people look the happiest when they're running the fastest from their own reflection. Their happiness is often a disguise over guilt, confusion, or emptiness. Your quiet, on the other hand, isn't a disguise. It's a workshop. It's where you are building the version of yourself that will never again settle for what almost destroyed you. The beautiful, painful truth is this: while you grow, they decline, not because life is punishing them, but because choices always catch up. You chose the hard road of growth. They chose the easy road of avoidance. Over time, those roads lead to very different places. There will come a day where your peace walks into the room before you do, where people feel your steadiness when you speak, where your boundaries are clear, your energy is strong, your eyes are calmer. And they'll see it from a distance and realize they're witnessing something they no longer have access to. So I want you to claim the side you're on, not the side of instant comfort, but the side of long-term strength. Go to the comments and write it out. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you. I rise while they repeat. Let that be your reminder the next time it hurts, because this story isn't ending where you think it is. The deeper you grow, the more obvious their decline becomes, not to embarrass them, but to prove to you that choosing yourself was never a loss. It was the beginning of everything. Stay with me, because what happens when the years they thought would free them start to haunt them? That's where this really gets interesting. Number 5. The years they thought would set them free become the years that haunt them. Freedom feels exciting at first, until you realize you ran away from the only place your soul actually felt safe. My friends, that line is not just poetry, it's psychology. Because in the beginning, they really believe they've escaped something. They convince themselves they've broken out of a cage. They tell themselves, I'm free now. No more pressure, no more expectations, no more responsibility. They step out of your life like walking out of a door, and for a while, it feels like fresh air to them. New people, new chats, new attention, new options. They confuse novelty with freedom. But stay with me, because the years they thought would liberate them are the same years that slowly start exposing what they truly lost. Imagine this, folks. Picture someone running out of a warm, steady house during a storm because they got bored of the walls. They step outside and the wind hits their face. It feels thrilling. The rain feels wild, refreshing and different. They spin around laughing, thinking, this is life, this is what I was missing. Meanwhile, the house, the safety, the warmth, the stability is still there behind them. They assume it'll always be there, just in case. But time passes. The storm doesn't stay fun. The cold starts biting. The rain starts soaking. The excitement wears off, and suddenly, what felt like freedom starts to feel like exposure. They turn around, and that house isn't open the way it used to be. That house was you. In the first months, or even years, they'll swear to everyone and to themselves that walking away was the best decision they ever made. They'll say things like, I needed this, I'm better off, we were just not right for each other. On the surface, it sounds confident, but underneath, there's a quiet phrase they avoid. What if I was wrong? They don't let that thought mature in the beginning because their ego is still high from the idea of choosing themselves. They thought choosing themselves meant losing you. What they don't realize is they didn't choose themselves at all. They chose comfort, ego, and temporary thrills. There's a quote you need to remember. Time doesn't always prove you right. Sometimes it proves you reckless. The first year, they might feel like they proved themselves right. See, I'm fine. I survived. I moved on. But time is patient. Time waits until the noise dies down, until the rebound relationships collapse, until the distractions lose their flavor. Time waits until their life calms down enough that their mind can finally speak without being drowned out. And that's when the haunting begins. You might be sitting there thinking, but they look happy. I see them traveling, laughing, posting, living. How could they possibly be haunted? Because regret doesn't wear a visible outfit. Regret hides behind smiles. It hides in the pause between laughs. It hides when the music stops and the room goes quiet. Regret doesn't show up in their pictures. It shows up in their private thoughts, when they lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. When a joke reminds them of you. When a song hits a little too close. When they meet someone new and realize, this feels fun, but it doesn't feel safe like it did with them. Think about it. The older we get, the more clearly we see patterns. They start to notice a pattern in themselves. The same relationship issues, the same arguments, the same dissatisfaction. And eventually, they're forced to ask, maybe the problem wasn't them. Maybe the problem is me. And who do you think comes to mind when they finally dare to admit that? The one person who was patient. The one person who tried, the one person who offered depth while they chose distraction. That's you. At first, the years feel like their victory lap. They think they're ahead of you because they seem to be enjoying life while you are sitting in silence, hurting. But what they don't see is that your silent, painful seasons were building something in you that their fun never built in them. Wisdom, boundaries, clarity, emotional strength. You walked through the fire. They ran from the kitchen. Of course it looks like they're winning at the start. But as time passes, the scoreboard flips. And here's what stings them the most, even if they never say it. The more time passes, the better you start to look in hindsight. Your flaws shrink, your love grows, your efforts stand out, your stability shines. You go from being too much to the one that got away, from annoying to loyal, from hard to handle to no one has ever understood me like that. Time has a cruel way of editing memories in favor of the person who is loved with honesty and intention. Now I know your fear. What if time really does make them forget me? What if these years pass and I'm just a faded name in their story? But here's the truth, my friend. People don't forget the ones who changed them. They may not come back. They may never admit it. But forgetting? No. What actually happens is this. Your presence becomes the reference point. Everyone new is compared to you in small, subtle ways. No one can see that comparison from the outside, but they feel it, they know it, and as the years pile up, so do the almosts, the not quite, the it's nice, but it doesn't feel the same. The years they thought would set them free become the years they quietly ask, why doesn't it feel as good as I thought it would? The years they thought would erase you become the years that highlight you. The years they thought would justify their choice become the years that expose it. And by then, something important has happened on your side. You're no longer waiting to be chosen. You're choosing yourself. So instead of asking, will time make them regret losing me? Start asking, how will I use this time to become someone I'm proud to be? Because their haunting is not your goal, your evolution is. Their regret might be part of the story, but it's not the ending. The real ending is you stepping into a life so aligned, so peaceful, so strong that their choices stop mattering as much as your growth. To lock this in, go to the comments and write it out. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you. I outgrow their freedom. Because you will. And the next part of this journey, where your absence becomes the reflection their ego can't survive, is where things get even more real. Stay with me. Number 6. Absence creates the one thing ego cannot survive: reflection. Noise protects the ego. Silence exposes it. My friends, that line right there explains more than most people will ever admit. As long as life is loud, as long as the phone is buzzing, as long as there's someone new to talk to, their ego feels safe. It can hide behind attention. It can hide behind drama. It can hide behind, I'm fine, I've moved on. But when you step back, when you go quiet, when your presence is no longer there to bounce off of, that's when something dangerous to their ego begins. Reflection. Imagine this for a second, folks. Think of a person who refuses to look in a clean mirror. Every time they pass by one, they turn the other way. They know if they look too closely, they'll see the tiredness in their eyes, the stress on their face, the truth their image can't hide. So what do? They live in dim rooms. They look into distorted glass. They avoid clear reflections. Your presence used to be that mirror. You reflected back on their behavior. You reflected their patterns. You reflected on their impact. And they didn't like what they saw, so they blamed you for it. But the moment you went silent, something shifted. They lost the mirror they could argue with. When you were around, they could say, you're too sensitive, you're overreacting, you're the problem. They could twist your words, dismiss your feelings, flip the story. But your absence? They can't argue with that. You're not there to fight. You're not there to plead. You're not there to correct their version. Your silence just exists. And it starts talking louder than any message you could have sent. Inside their mind, questions start sneaking in at first, then pounding. Why aren't they reacting like before? Why do I feel off when I see their name? Why does this quiet make me anxious? They try to drown it out. More scrolling, more noise, more people who don't matter. But absence has a gravity of its own. It pulls their thoughts back to the one place that's unfinished, back to where they know they didn't show up right, back to you. Here's the lie we have to destroy. If they're silent too, it means they don't care. Sometimes that's not true at all. Sometimes they're silent because facing you means facing themselves. Reaching out doesn't just mean saying, hey, it means risking rejection. It means possibly hearing the truth. It means admitting, at least to themselves, that they messed up something real. Ego would rather sit in quiet suffering than risk being humbled, and your absence intensifies that suffering over time. Picture them alone at night, my friends. No filters, no audience, just them and their thoughts. They replay conversations they brushed off. They remember the patience you had when they pulled away. They recall the way you listened when no one else cared. They remember the comfort of your presence, the way you calmed their chaos, the way you made heavy days feel lighter. And then they remember how they treated you, how they took it for granted, how they chose games, pride, or distraction over depth, that gap between who you were to them and how they behaved toward you. That gap is where reflection lives, and ego hates that space. There's a quote I want you to keep. Absence doesn't erase connection. It reveals who was really connected. In your absence, they realize something important. It was never just you needing them. They needed you too. They just didn't admit it. You were the place their soul could exhale. They'll try to recreate that feeling with other people, but it won't be the same. You can't fake emotional safety. You either feel it or you don't. And once they've tasted it with you, everything else feels a little more shallow. And I know what your mind does. It whispers, if they're reflecting, why don't they say something? Why don't they apologize? Why don't they come back? Because reflection is painful. And a lot of people don't know how to move through pain properly. They numb it instead. They scroll past your posts faster. They avoid places that remind them of you. They change the song when it hits too close. That's not indifference. That's avoidance. You don't avoid what means nothing. You avoid what hits too deep. Your absence is not just empty space. It's a classroom. It's teaching them lessons whether they want them or not. Lessons about consistency, lessons about loyalty, lessons about what happens when you mishandle someone who genuinely cared. They might never admit you were the teacher, but trust me, the lessons stick. And while that's happening on their side, something powerful is happening for you. In your own quiet, reflection is working too, but differently. You're not reflecting on how to get them back. You're reflecting on how did I abandon myself to keep them. You start to see the moments you betrayed your own needs, the times you stayed quiet when you should have spoken, the times you accepted crumbs because you were afraid of being alone. That reflection doesn't crush you. It rebuilds you. It turns into new standards, new boundaries, a new version of you that no longer negotiates your worth. So no, absence is not just them missing you. It's you meeting you. It's you discovering how strong you can be without their validation. It's you realizing that your silence isn't empty. It's full of your future, full of opportunities, full of self-respect, returning home. By the time reflection has done its work on both sides, the story has changed. They are stuck between regret and pride, spinning in circles. You are moving forward, slowly but surely, into a life that aligns more with who you truly are. They feel your absence like a weight. You feel it like a doorway. So let's seal this with something strong. I want you to go to the comments and write it out. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you. My absence is my mirror. Let that be your declaration, because your absence is teaching everyone involved who they truly are, including you. And if this message hits you in that deep, honest place, do one thing for your future self right now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs this reminder. Stay with me. Your silence, your time, your evolution. This is just the beginning of who you're becoming.